Oh, we are live?
We
Nice.
are live.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the laboratory. I'm your host, Steve Matt Batter. Today, we're doing a bit of a design hour for the Modular Unlimited system. Normally, we'd be doing a playtest, but we got just our three crewmen through here. So what we're going to do, we're going to delve into Tactical Skirmish, which is going to be next week's session. We're writing some rules. We're going to be working on a player faction that is not in the works yet to be played, but it's going to be fun for us because Pat here, he's been spearheading our Masters of the Elements faction.
Oh,
I just had chaos ADD thoughts.
Spearheading.
hey, spearheading.
I mean, that's what's driving us. That's what drives us, man. The ADHD thoughts. Just
Yeah, you should see some of the nonsense we've created just speaking at each other.
before we get into creation, though, I think I'd like to talk to you guys because the objective system is really what's going to set our tactical game apart from many other RPGs and also other war games. Like this section is an RPG for war gamers and a war game for RPG players, and just the diversity of gameplay is really what we're shooting for. And I had you're on this trailblazing section, right? This is one of the objectives. Right now, we've got 14 ready to play objectives, which it can be randomly drawn. You show up to the map, you got your characters at the ready, you randomly generate objectives, or you choose objectives, or maybe you choose between several different missions. Lots of different options there. But importantly, this changes the way the game plays. So with this trailblazing, for example, this trailblazing objective, which I just wrote this morning, the way it works is you've got two anchor points on opposite ends of the map. One is in your starting zone, one is in whatever the far reach is. You place blaze points, which are like cairns. If you're on a hiking trail, you could end up with cairns. You place them within 6 spaces of each of the previous points or an anchor point, and when the map is connected from end to end with those points, that's when the objective is complete. So pretty straightforward. Makes sense though, right?
I
This is one of the
understand
objectives that
the
you can draw.
idea.
You sound like you got a problem.
I have a question, not
Yes.
necessarily a problem. So, in order for this trailblazing to happen, you would start in your position, right? The PC
Yep.
starts at their anchor point on one side of the map. You then have to travel across the map to the other anchor point, right?
Eventually.
So you're placing cairns as you go.
Yes. Correct. You can if you really want to have half your team like run all the way across the battlefield and then start placing them at the other anchor point and then like meet in the middle. That is an option.
Okay. What stops the anchor points?
Nothing.
What do you mean nothing?
You're surrounded by murderous creatures.
So so the objective here is, in addition to your own personal survival, you are hoping that within 6 spaces you're able to drop another anchor point before moving on.
Yeah, every 6 spaces basically you're shooting for that blaze point. Yeah, like you don't actually have to do any fighting. Even if you're surrounded by enemies, you don't have to do any fighting. You have to meet the objectives.
Okay.
That's part and parcel of the whole objective system.
Right.
Like we've also got search points. You're looking for specific things. We've got assassinate VIP. There is a non-combat VIP. You have to KO them. You've got civilians that need to be rescued, primary and secondary objective.
Right. That makes sense.
You good with it? Do you have more questions?
Well, it feels like the trailblazing itself is more of a secondary or even maybe third kind of objective, because you have it
Why?
buried here at the bottom that the narrator may also add a time limit, a round limit, or timing requirement in order to complete said objective.
Right? That's true for every single objective we have.
That you bury the lead.
That you could put time limits. You can add complexity to any of these objectives. You can put challenge tests on them if you want. This paragraph is like almost word for word. That narrator may assign the challenge test, blah blah blah. That's word for word in every single one of these objectives.
I see. The narrator may assign a challenge test. The narrator.
Narrator may assign a challenge test, may assign round limits or timing requirements, and you can combine some objectives with others. So if for this example you may combine it with collection points. Like maybe you've got to pick up some markers, some stones or something as a collection point, and then deliver them as blaze points.
I see.
Yeah. So and you can randomly assign these. You don't have to. Whatever you end up with as the primary and secondary objective, that's what your team's all about for that round. It's never the time you're trying to KO all of your enemies is when your objective is to KO all of the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like continuing on here though, if you're good with that,
Oh,
the
yes,
the
to
neat
continue.
part comes next. It's the versus options. So you can see here in Trailblazing, we have 2 versus options already, and there's probably going to end up with more. The first versus option is the Cartographer's Apprentice. Basically, Team A, Team B, you're on opposite ends of the map. You put 1 anchor point each on the map in your deployment zone. First team to connect these 2 anchor points with blaze points is the one who wins the objective.
Okay.
Option B, Team A is Trailblazers. Team B is trying to sabotage. The way you sabotage is by destroying the defending team's anchor point. If you can destroy their anchor points before they connect the 2 anchor points, you win. Otherwise, if they connect the 2 anchor points before you destroy theirs, they win.
So the blaze points cannot be destroyed, but the anchor points can?
Correct. There is a reason for that, and because I had thought about that, it would be just cumbersome to have like you got the 3 people, you got your 4 teammates, and you're just like placing blaze tokens every single turn.
This seems highly in favor of the offense.
The one trying to destroy the anchor point,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
All right then. Okay. Kind of
Yeah.
the point, I
One plays-
guess.
Like all you have to do as the offensive team is make it to the other side with one of your characters and destroy their 1 anchor point.
Yep.
Then that means it's up to the defending team to find a way to stop that from happening while also connecting the 2 points.
Well, it seems like the easiest thing to do would be to also go on the offensive and take your whole team to stop the other team.
Yeah, because the thing is, you always win if you KO the other team in a versus in like a PvP match.
Yeah.
Because then like you kill them, so you can just do your bit in peace.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the
It's
chasm
always
would be
easier to just kill everybody else before you do the objective.
Not always, but a lot of the time. One of the fun ones. So speaking of like one team having the advantage over the other, there is the evac VIP, and one team will have to evac, the other team might have to assassinate. It's a lot easier to assassinate than evac.
that depends on who you ask.
I do have a question here. If this is the PvP like versus option, right?
Right.
Is that like so? Like, say our group was handling this. Which side are you, the narrator, on?
In this case, there wouldn't be a narrator, and necessary like there. So there is PvP, in which case there would be a narrator, in which case they are neutral. Alternatively, if it's just PvP, if you have a narrator, they're just the judge of the tournament.
You say neutral, but I know that PvPvE with one person controlling the E becomes very biased very quickly.
Only if you threaten her god.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where you either have to trust that person to do the job in a fair and unbiased way, or you don't have them at all.
I guarantee that if we played in a versus game, I would be attacked consistently.
I do like
Because
attacking you. It's pretty fun.
and I often move away from my teammates on my own. I'm a very easy
Yeah,
target.
like- You did make yourself a very easy target.
What happens sometimes?
That's why you need Nemo
All right.
Dell.
What?
Or it might be Dap.
That's his travel guy.
Yeah.
I got
Trap tokens.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that probably would help.
So it's fun that you're talking about trap tokens
Boy.
because this is going to feed into, and specifically the portal, right?
Yeah.
One of the concepts I have for you, and this might blow your mind a little bit, portal orbs. You know how we're manipulating the orb types?
hmm
We evolve one of them or 2 of them into portals. Now they're just open portals. You walk into one side, you come out the other.
Oh,
Arcane.
That's fun.
Probably arcane. I'm leaning towards arcane, but it's not going to be so straightforward as here's a portal orb. It's probably going to be like, okay, well, we got to get to crystal orb, then we're going to take that crystal orb, we're going to add this to it, then we're going to do this and this and this. Maybe I have to combine two different complex orbs to create portal orb.
So are we looking
with me?
at 3 tiers of orbs?
We're looking at however many tiers of orbs we end up with. And that's why you know how I'm against having this definite list. All of these orbs lead to exactly these orbs, right?
Yes.
I'm against just that list. I'm not against combining them. I'm not against mixing and matching. There's a few reasons for them, and one of them is because I don't want to have we're going to have 3 tiers of orbs. Now we have to make all of the 3 tiers of orbs. We have to make all of the 4 tiers of orbs, right?
I
This
mean,
might
there's like
be a
a
3 or 4
starting
tier orb,
foundation.
and it might be starting foundation. As far as I'm concerned, is just the 6. That's all we need to start with.
Okay.
And then from there we can make it more complex. Like even the same combination, depending on the features you use, would end up with different effects, right? So fire and dark could combine into either balefire or hellfire or dragonfire, or it could combine into smoke orb. And then we have fire and dark makes smoke. Maybe we also have fire and water makes smoke. But fire and water might also make steam, depending on the features and depending on what we execute and how.
Okay. We can actually make that pretty.
Make sense?
Yeah, using
So
okay, so I would see like a combination as like the upper tier, and then let's say so we'll say fire and water made steam, right? And what if you continue to add more
right.
water?
But it depends. What feature are you using to do it? You know?
Steam to make concussive blast.
Yeah, I mean, you could make it concussive. Well, here's the thing, right? The steam doesn't need to make anything, but it might be used, it might be spent. So let's say we've got hydroblast. Maybe that's our feature, right?
Mhm.
And hydroblast says you have to spend 3 orbs. Those orbs must be some combination of water, steam, and I don't know, mud. Just for fun, we're gonna say that's the combination. It's 3 orbs of that combination. And then we'll continue to say, if you use steam, if you spent steam with this ability, push an extra 1 space or deal 2 body because it's hot. If you use for this action, their movement speed is reduced by 1.
So each orb, in addition to being used in the attack itself, gives a different trait to the spell.
Sometimes, not always.
Yeah,
And
so
like it
if my understanding is
it can be
correct, it would be like meteor would be what'd you call it before? A lava orb. So it'd be like a lava orb, a fire orb, and like it has to have we'll say 4 orbs, and of those it would have to be 2 lavas, 1 fire. So then the other orb can be orb of your choice, but obviously a water orb in that situation isn't going to give it a special ability.
No,
But
but
like
you can have a water
additional,
orb and a fire orb, and thus make a steam orb. Huh?
not necessarily.
but you don't have
If
to
you
combine them.
so Meteor says, like in this case, yeah. If anything, steam orb is less than a water and a fire in that case, right? Because you need 4 orbs, and the steam only counts for 1, right? So if it's Meteor says you need 4 orbs, one of them must be earth, one of them must be fire, one of them must be lava, and then fourth can be anything at all.
Now, if you have a
Okay.
passive feature that boosts, that says like fire damage will do more if you use a fire orb, and you use that 4th orb as a fire orb, you'll get that particular bonus. But if you use the steam orb, it just lets you cast the ability itself.
Yeah.
So a lot of it also has to do with what the character has as a feature.
What they want to do with it.
Here's the next step, because that's great stuff already. Now here's where I'm going to elevate this faction. Wind Shaper, right? He places his Earth orb onto the battlefield.
Start again.
That is now terrain.
You cut out. Everything you just said was not there.
Cut out.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm an Earth Shaper. One of our archetypes. I take my Earth orb. I'm generating an Earth orb. I place it on the battlefield. That is now terrain. It blocks movements. It blocks line of sight. If I'm a fire caster, I put my fire orb. Now that's hazardous terrain.
Ooh.
So we have orbs can be in the mana pool. Orbs can be on the battlefield. And the last place they can be, I think you're going to like this too, is on your character sheet. So if I'm an Earth Shaper, just using this example, I put an Earth Orb on my character sheet. I now have Earth Armor.
Okay.
Reduces body dealt to me by 1.
I know where you got that from. Target
There's a few places that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It is. We get it.
So so a lot of different places you can put these orbs. A lot of different effects. You can still spend the orbs that are on the battlefield. You can still spend the orbs that are on the character sheet, regardless of distance, unless otherwise specified. There might be some instances where we specify ranges, but let's say I've got 1 Earth Orb on my character sheet. I've got 1 Earth Orb on the battlefield as a wall, and I've got a third one in the pool. Now my super rock throw, it takes three Earth Orbs to cast it. I spend those 3 from those 3 places, and then so we get a lot of different functionality out of these orbs.
So you can take an orb that you already have in play and add it to your own, or
sacrifice its effects to create a stronger spell.
right.
Bingo.
Now, since this is a faction, right? A group of people working together, does that mean that, say, I have my earth wall down and my companion has their firewall down, I can take their firewall to add it to my earth spell if necessary?
Yes. Like if you have something, it's like, spend a fire orb and an earth orb to do X. Yeah, you can spend their their firewall that's on the battlefield. You can spend your earth wall that's on the battlefield. Spend both of those. Cast your effects.
What if they don't want me to do that?
That sucks.
And SOL. Sucks for them.
Yeah, it's, the faction ability of the elementalist would be to be able to manipulate these orbs. So if you've got 3 of them, it does require teamwork. But if you've got 3 mages out in the field, each one's a specialist of a different element, you're making a world of pain. Now, keep in mind that the orbs themselves aren't the only way that these guys can work together. So let's say you've got your fire, water, and air mage, right? There are still abilities like when the fire mage generates that token, he's also doing something else. He's using a fire whip, or he's creating an armor. He's still doing something in the effects that also generates that orb. So you could attack with one, attack with another, and then the third guy could use those 2 orbs to generate a whole new spell to end the turn.
Yeah.
You have to plan that out ahead.
Or you react.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
planning ahead
all
will
these factions,
maximize
very
the effect. But realistically, it could be absolute chaos.
Yeah. So all factions, more or less, some more, some less, require teamwork to do. That's the point. The kind of the exception right now is Lords of Undeath, because they are the selfish faction.
Yeah.
Right?
Throw the kid, watch him go
and
boom.
The other faction that's in the works that is very selfish is our knockoff adventuring party. It's in quotes adventuring party, which is just knockoff D&D characters.
I hadn't
If you
heard
guys
about
want to
that
check
one.
that out, it's there. Yeah, it's they've got their own chapter right now. Each faction sort of specializes in its own thing. Traps, Missing Gadgeteers are about placement. Lords of Undeath are about zone control. Soldiers of Fortune are about timing. And then this one will be about sequence, because you do A, then B, which leads you to C, which leads you to E.
I feel like
Like
I've played a game like this before.
Each of these, probably a lot of magic. You do have sort of like this spell casting order to that. Magicka 2 does something like that. Ads play in Ragnarok Online that has something like this.
I see.
Way back in the day before it went 3D, elementalist warlocks had the ability to generate one of 4 elements, and then you could combine those elements together as they floated around you to generate spells.
Yeah. Now I am in Masters of the Elements. If you want to jump to that page,
We have a page.
yeah, we've got a page. It's in player
Oh
faction.
yes. All right, where am I going?
I am currently on page 6 of that, working on the archetypes. Oh, before I jump into the archetypes, though, I think you might enjoy the tier faction bonuses, because they are glass cannon, so we've got their mind at max, and their mind and focus are both max, with body and evasion both at min. I think you'll find that entertaining. So you're going to end up with like no body if you play this faction.
Unless. Nope.
Unless.
I don't know the unless yet, but I know there's one in here.
There's a spell for that.
There's always a...
Might take a little bit to build up, but there's a spell for that.
Flame Speaker, Pyromancy 3.
Given the effect that we have water elements and have talked about the concept of healing, they need to get hit. Like, they need to have a reason for it. So I'm all for that.
Yeah. Flame Speaker, what I have is Firebolt. Target a character within 6 spaces. Range versus challenge test against evasion DS. On a success, deal 2 body. So this is your cantrip. It only deals 2 body. But you generate a fire orb on the target's character sheet. At the beginning of your turn, deal 1 body to each character with a fire orb on their character sheet. So this is that damage over time we had mentioned.
Perfect.
Okay.
Now, I would like to know your guys' thoughts on this, because in theory, 1 firebolt can kill anything. There's a few ways we can go about making that not the case, or we can leave that as the case, where it's just, leave that fire orb on them forever, and it's just going to continue to tick them down.
Explain it to me with grounds. Firebolt can kill anything?
Yes, because at the beginning of your turn, you deal 1 body to each and every single character that has a fire orb on their character sheet. So let's say it's the Cerebral Dragon. You hit him with 1 firebolt. He's got the fire orb on the Cerebral Dragon character sheet. Every single turn, that's 1 body to the Cerebral Dragon.
Okay.
Every single turn.
What about the fire orb that's on your character sheet?
Yeah.
Don't put one on your character sheet.
Like what did you call it before? That aura.
The Flame Aura?
Yeah.
So there is an answer to this. And again, this depends on how we shift it. 1, we can just say, do the Flame Aura, put the orb into your pool, your mana pool. That's an easy answer. That way, the fire orb on a character sheet always does damage.
Totally.
The other option is deal 1 body to each enemy character with a fire orb on their character sheet.
That's more like
That's
because
the
as soon
answer.
as someone reads this sentence, everyone is getting hurt.
Everyone's getting hurt. Okay, so I updated that to say each enemy character with a fire orb on the character sheet. Now, here's the easy answer to making the firebolt not infinite damage. Once you deal that 1 body, you take the fire orb off of the character sheet and you put it in your mana pool.
Oh, I thought that was a given.
What fun is that? I mean, effectively, the firebolt, they're burned, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you follow elemental logic, when you're burned, until you put the fire out, you're burning every turn.
That could be
Now,
something that's a special point for fire, though.
That's option number 2. So option 1 is we do the 1 body, we take the fire orb, we put it in our mana pool. Option 2 is that character can sacrifice its turn order to put out the fire.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Here's the problem.
What?
Here's the rub. You lose that fire orb. It's almost impossible to keep a fire orb on them. It's impossible to keep a fire orb in play.
But they're losing their turn in order to put that fire out on their person.
You saw that map from before, right?
Shit.
Yep.
Like 30 fucking guys?
Yeah.
What is 1 turn with 30 turn orders?
Well,
versus an orb that you're going to need to get something more powerful for crowd control.
Bingo.
I don't
use a different spell.
But so here's the thing, and there is another answer to that too. But let's say we want to cast our fireball. Fireball costs 3 orbs. Now, if every time you cast your fire orb out there, it gets just put out immediately, you never are going to see those 3 orbs.
That sounds like a flaw in the spell of Firebolt.
Unless you have a feature that's exclusive for fire that allows you to put the orb into the pool when someone puts the fire out. You sacrifice a feature cost, but you keep that.
I was just going to make that native. That's the alternative, right? Once they put the fire out, it goes from their character sheet into the pool, the mana pool, rather than being discarded.
Yeah.
That is the direction we can take it.
I almost feel like that particular situation would be powerful enough that it should be a feature, a passive one, but because you're not going to have that issue with any other element, so that'd be a specialty for fire.
It's a special weakness for fire,
right? Since fire would be the go-to damage, right? Because that's what happens when people think of the elements. Fire is the damaging spell, so
right.
Giving it a minor downside like that doesn't feel too bad.
It's not minor. I know it seems like it's minor, but that is a massive downside.
Well, everything is in it's cumulative. It's connective, right? It says here that Fireball is a 2-action spell that you need fire, smoke, and lightning. So if you have
any combination,
right? So if you've got individuals around you who are capable of making the other 2 types, then adding your single fire orb when you make the attack shouldn't be a problem.
So
all 3 of those require fire.
Yeah, you got 2 guys working on it.
If you want to make, isn't it for combinations of or, you should have or rather than and. That way it doesn't look like it needs fire, smoke, and lightning.
Yeah, okay. And any combination of fire, smoke, or lightning. Yep, that'll work.
Wait, what
you must
lightning
spend 3
fire?
orbs. Fire and wind.
Fire and wind makes lightning?
Yep.
Oh, all right.
What else would it
be? I don't know.
It could be light and fire.
Light and air.
And this is set to change. I just kind of wrote this out. Fire, smoke, and lightning. You could also make it bell fire. Now, how about they sacrifice their movement? An enemy character with a fire orb on their character sheet may spend their movements to move.
And then it goes to the pool.
Fire orb from character sheet, to this faction's mana. That way, we're not handicapping the pyromancer or the flame speaker to the maximum degree, because that is a major weakness. You only generate 1 fire orb a turn, and you lose it every single time. It's gonna be rough.
On a test point, have you checked to see what would be a good max number of orbs, or are we going chaotic with it?
I'm sticking with 10 for now. That's what is in the book, or what I have written. That might need to be 12.
3,
especially since a lot of these are going to stay on the field. Yeah. Now I did add that each character can only generate 1 orb per turn, but you can also move them. You can move them. There's four things you can do with them. You can generate them, you can move them, you can spend them, or you can convert them. Generation may only happen once per character per round.
So you can move an orb.
Yes.
So if you launch your firebolt, hit the target with it,
Yep.
and then you pull it back to yourself.
Depending on, if you have a feature that says move a fire orb from any target to yourself, yeah, you can do that. But
Okay.
the movement only happens as part of a feature.
So does fireball take 2 turns to cast?
Realistically, it takes 4.
Because it says 2 actions, right?
Which is one
Yep,
turn.
it takes 2 actions.
But you can only generate
Right.
one orb per turn, and you wouldn't be able to do that on the same turn that you generated an orb. So your first 3
Okay.
turns is generation, and then your second or your fourth is your actual cast.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But firebolt is only 1 action.
Yep.
So can I firebolt 2 people with the same
You
orb?
can, but that yes, you can. You can only generate 1 orb.
Right.
Right. You could do firebolts. You
But only
you'd
one of
have
those
to,
becomes an orb.
Yeah.
Yeah, only one of those becomes an orb.
So you only have the chance of burning 1 person.
Yep. I put this body really high.
Given that it takes 4
14
turns for one
for
to do it,
fireball.
that's fair.
Yeah, that might even be too low. It's 14 body to 1 target, and then 7 to each other character within 2 spaces. So I guess that's a pretty heavy hit, but you can only do it on the 4th turn unless somebody else is helping you build those orbs.
Let's see. As far as the body is concerned, the average max that Rigger does is what? 9 to a single target, and then 2 to the surrounding. So that's 1
Yeah.
turn. So that'd be 18 and 4, 27 and 6 over 3 turns. I feel like the fireball's body could go up another 7 to 21.
Or add in something like heart or mind.
I mean,
you're
14
you're
body.
pretty discouraged to continue fighting if your body's on fire.
I mean, if someone threw a fireball at me, I'd be a little discouraged to continue fighting them.
The other elements that you're kind of missing as part of your equation is that the firebolt is also doing damage.
That's true. How many? Here's a question.
Yeah.
How many fire orbs can you stack on somebody?
10.
There's no limit.
Okay, so if everyone in your group... 10. Okay, so if everyone in your group, let's say there's 4 of you, you're all flame speakers, and you firebolt, 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 firebolt. This guy now has 4 additional damage on an individual, and they use their action. They can put out all 4 fire orbs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A single action to remove 4 orbs from the table, potentially, if they're not dead.
That'd be sweet.
That's a fair
That
point.
makes the flame speaker probably the best thing for a single target.
Because that's what? 2 damage per shot. Each person gets 2 shots. So that's 8, 16, plus a 4 tick when it turns over. So if you go after them, no, you'd have to go... You could lose all 4 fire orbs after that creature potentially taking 16 body. That'd be crazy.
So you also have to calculate to go back to that. So the issue is if we're playing a team of 4 and all 4 are fire mages, that's 3 fire bolts and 1 fireball per round.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
sweet.
That's a good point.
So we don't want to dink it too high because in no other faction do we have all teammates capable of dealing the same amount of damage.
But any of the other... Oh, well, I guess we have.
I don't have a single
You
character
said,
that can keep up with you. We have no other team member that can keep up with the sniper. We have no other team member that could keep up with what's her name?
Which one?
Check them out.
The Hordebringer. Once the Hordebringer is able to actually attack with the entire horde. So I mean, there are maxed characters in each faction, but not every single character in each faction can keep up with the best in that faction.
That's true. That's usually how these things
Yeah.
go. There's always one type that outclasses the others.
And fire.
Yeah, so
they have drawbacks.
Yeah, you're a glass cannon. That's the drawback. Sniper can take care of each one of these characters. If we're talking about PvP, Sniper's going to take them out one by one.
Yeah,
easy. That's why you need the Earth Mage or the Earth Shaper. Builds that wall. Yeah, that's probably the most important for PvP is the Earth Shaper.
and let's face
Now, speaking of,
we're not gonna the chances of Brad, Crewman, Noel, and I making characters in this faction all the same element 0.
That's not true at all. We would coordinate specifically.
I would honestly love to see it.
So the things like Firebolt,
genuinely.
If I've got you right on this, Firebolt would have the opportunity to build not just a fire orb, but an air orb too.
That was one thing we talked about. I haven't written it down yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see that here.
This particular Firebolt, it can only generate fire orbs as
okay. Because I know you want the ability to have more synchrony in the orbs. And I think that's how we would end up building our characters, figuring out who each other character wants to play more, and
Yeah,
then fine tuning our features to match to be able to give to them while they give back to us.
yeah, I do think that's a good strategy. But this Stone Shaper ability, Earth Shaper's ability called Stonewall. This is
Mhm.
fun. You generate or move an Earth orb to a space on the battlefield within 8 spaces of you. Then you may move up to 2 other orbs in any combination of Earth and Crystal in an adjacent space to the generated Earth orb. The generated orb placed Earth and Crystal orbs on the battlefield are height 3 climbable and destructible terrain with 10 body and 13 evasion DS. Crystal orbs on the battlefield do not block line of sight, just line of effect. Now, it's going to be cool when our Radiant Mage, our light caster, doesn't need line of effect because they're shooting light, right? If you can shoot the light through crystal,
Yep, that makes sense.
I think that'll be a really cool synergy to have the Earth Shaper build up crystal walls that stops, the horde from coming directly to you, and the Radiant Mage, shooting light through the crystals. The other side of that, I was thinking, is when we have smoke orb on the battlefield, that would do the opposite, where it blocks line of sight but not line of effect. And maybe we've got a heat seeker kind of ability. That's probably a fire mage ability where they don't need line of sight; they just need line of effect.
Are we looking to make
So you're kind of
like
changing
multiple
terrain.
effects to the same combinations? So like fire and air would also. I mean, like you would be able to choose from 4 different features from mixing those two kind of thing.
I
I
don't
know.
want to put a number on it.
I know you don't want to put a number on it, but is that the kind of idea that we're looking for? Like it might be 2 effects
Like
here, 3 effects there,
you
but
combine fire and air. Yeah,
okay.
like combining fire and air does X. Combining fire and water does this. Um, then you can build up on that. So you have sort of the sequence to it, where it's like, okay, now we can combine lightning with metal. Maybe we got metal orb, and that's like induction or something like that.
All
Probably a
right.
bad example. Or to use Bread's example, it was like fire and fire and earth makes lava, lava and water makes obsidian. So now you can add in the arcane something there where it's like arcane blades. So the sequence matters more than anything.
All right. So here's where it's going to get painful.
Uh,
Does it take an action to combine?
Depends. What I'm thinking right now is it's not an action to combine so much as it is an effect, right? So like I use that example of like the radiant mage casting his light beam. What I was thinking is the effect would say like convert 1 earth orb on the battlefield within some number of spaces to a crystal, then cast your light beam at a target within 6 spaces.
Then we got a problem. You wouldn't be able to
Why?
make a smoke. Let me get back up to it real fast. So fireball here. Any
Yep.
combination of fire, smoke, or lightning, right? So
Right.
with that effect type, you wouldn't be able to have a smoke orb and a lightning orb within access together.
Why not?
How would you combine them if you have to use them in the to as part of that to create the let's say for your light beam? It's created, then it does the light
Uh,
beam. Well, if you create it, then you have to use it.
No, you don't. No, it's just on the battlefield. Watch, I'll show you. So one of the features I have planned for the fire flame speaker is to create firewall. Right, put a
Mhm.
fire orb on the battlefield. Now we have water mage, blessed rings, does heart to enemies, but also if there are any fire orbs inside of the rain range, converts it to smoke.
That converts it. Okay.
Right, and then smoke.
Oh,
As part of the Fire Mage's Flame Wall feature, will describe what smoke does on the battlefield.
okay. And now it would be the water mage that chooses whether or not it's smoke or steam, right?
In this case, it will be the fact that you use the Blessed Rains and there is a fire orb inside of the rain. Like you say, I use Blessed Rains, here's my area. It happens to include a fire orb. That fire orb, because it's inside Blessed Rains, and Blessed Rains tells you to do this, tells you to convert any fire orbs inside that area to a smoke orb.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Like it's by the feature. The feature describes what you do.
I see. I feel like that's a little. That might be too limiting. I think the blessed range should be able to choose what type of orb it turns into. That would give it more synergy on the combinations.
Maybe that is a possibility. I'm not saying we can't do that, but like we don't even know what Steam is used for yet. Like they're as designers, this isn't necessarily for the players to or for the characters to know. As designers, we need input and we need output, right? And then we got to close the loop, right? We need to spend steam or
Well-
have some kind of outlet to spend steam.
That's easy. So smoke stops line of sight, and then steam would stop line of effect
Why would steam stop
Uh,
line of effect?
crystals.
because it creates a mirage.
That blocks line of sight.
Then they both
Line of
block
sight.
line of sight. It's just
Yeah.
one does more.
They both do the same thing.
Yeah,
Right.
It's simple. It's simple.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
The reason why we limit is because for everything that is on the battlefield, we have to have an effect written somewhere in a feature.
Speaking of, have we written down
So if
any
there-
of these other things?
I've written down just the firebolt, fireball, and stonewall.
Ah.
I'm about to.
this
I have
all
to- I have to
came
make
up just a
sections
couple
for
days
everybody.
ago.
Ah,
And the fact
So
that you
I'm
have this
going to-
much.
Flame speaker. Is that what I called him?
Yeah. One of the other ones you used was hydromancer.
Hydromancer.
I thought
Yeah,
I liked
Hydromancer.
that one.
Hydromancer. Okay, I'll copy that. How do I have this? We got Flame Speaker, Earth Shaper, Hydromancer, and Bread is familiar with the fact that each rank of each archetype has a title, which is going to be
Yes.
fun for this faction. So, like maybe our rank 3 Flame Speaker for a given faction is called like Red Mage, and maybe rank 4 is like Grand Red Mage or something like that.
maybe.
Maybe. Right?
I'm
like,
sure we'll
not
come
all-
up with better names than that.
Yeah, for sure.
The Grand
Yeah, so we
Inferno.
have-
Flame, right? It's a good one. We got Hydromancer, we got Earth Shaper, we got Flame Speaker, Windwalker.
Wind, Waka, Breeze.
That sounds pretty sweet, right? Windwalker.
I mean, it's good.
Lightcaster?
It's
Yes.
What do we think?
I'm trying to think
kind
of
of feeling Windwalker.
I'm trying to think of anything that hasn't been taken by played out conspiracy.
And this one's the Avatar.
Mm.
So your dark guy, your dark archetype, you called it Demise, you called it Doom. What else do you call it?
Merc.
Shadow,
So we can do
Void,
Shadow.
Umbra.
Oh,
Umbra. Ooh,
oh.
Umbra. That's a good word.
yeah.
That's the Pokemon. Or Umbreon is the Pokemon, I believe. The dark type EV.
So does Brett Windwalker or Aerialist? Which one sounds better?
An aerialist sounds like somebody with flight capabilities. You know.
I mean, they're gonna have flight capabilities.
Well, you know what I.
Is that your hang up?
An aerialist sounds like someone in a plane, not somebody
Yeah.
using wind magic.
Okay, then Windwalker is our best bet.
Yeah, I am a fan of Windwalker. I'm not so much a fan of my idea here for Lightcaster.
Yeah, we
I
can do
think that's a
better.
little goofy.
What do you have for
Lightcaster is the simplest
Umbra.
one. And we have what other things do they use for light? They use things like dawn, radiance, lumens.
Yeah, the Luminist.
Prismatic, Luminist.
Oh,
I think
Luminist.
that's pretty good
Luminist is good. That's someone who
for
lumines.
something. And then for our so there's for archetype number 7, there's kind of 2 directions we can take where it's kind of we can either go the master of all or like the journeyman of all, where they dabble a little bit, maybe they can make different orbs, or we can do arcane, which I think is the direction we were leaning more towards.
For
And
non-elemental,
for me,
yeah.
For consistency, for my world building, I think kinetics works better to keep it in line with the things that I have written, like kineticist
Connecticut. This is
or like kinetomancer or something like that.
maybe. Let's see.
Maybe.
What things do we add? I'm still stuck on Umbra.
Yeah. Umbral Walker. We already used Windwalker. Umbral Knight. That sounds pretty sick.
Hebrews, sages, veil, Umbra veil. Umbral Knight. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually.
see, the problem is if we call him a knight, then people are going to want their magic to be knightly.
To be what?
Want it to be knightly. When we call something
Well,
a knight, we expect it to be armored and wielding a sword.
on the one hand, we can give the people what they want. On the other hand, there is Moon Knight.
You do expect him to be wielding a sword, though.
Random bullshit.
You're kind
Go.
of disappointed when he's not.
Random bullshit. Go. Hey Pat, switch our OBS to
Hello, crew.
hello crewman. We have a 4th window.
Yes, my apologies. Actually, I'm not gonna stay very long. I just needed to test something if you can hear me.
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, have fun.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
Catch you.
Bye.
Bye.
That's one way to
All right.
test things, I guess.
All right. So yeah,
All right.
we can do. Yeah, we can give them knightly features. Like we can give him a blade of shadow. There's nothing stopping us from doing that.
Well,
We can make this the more bruiser style character.
we can also say Umbral Knight and leave the K out of the word.
Oh, you could. Darkness. I get
That's
it.
because it's darkness.
I mean, we can tweak that
well, hang
spelling
on.
any way we want. I mean, KNIT would work too.
What does umbral mean?
Isn't it
Dark.
shadow and dark? Yeah.
Umbra is a noun that is a conical shadow excluding all light from a given source. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to make sure that
Maker.
basically it says night night.
Night, night. Night, night, guys.
That's almost too comical to not do it.
Night, night. All right. So, let's look at our Luminous. So I think this will be good. You gain the following action.
What page are you on?
Priz.
Click on his name.
I am
and it'll-
currently on page 8.
Yeah, page 8 of Masters of the Elements.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know I could do
Picture you
that. Yours now.
Prismatic. Lights. Since we're on the theme of double naming things, prismatic lights, and then
Solid.
Prismatic spread.
you.
Prismatic
It sounds
orb.
like peanut butter. We got orb is the thing that we are already using. It's a bit redundant.
All right.
Oh,
may
but
convert
prismatic light isn't.
a-
I see how it is.
I'll give you a better name as soon as I know what the effect is.
Yeah, that's true.
You may convert. This is the secondary effect. This isn't the main effect. You may convert an earth orb on the battlefield within 3 spaces to a crystal orb. Then target an enemy within 5 spaces.
Sure.
Make a versus challenge test against the targets versus focus DS, ignoring LO because you can aim this through a crystal wall. Make a versus challenge test, or rewinding a little bit, you may convert an earth orb on the battlefield within 3 spaces, or an earth orb on the battlefield, or an earth orb in your mana pool. I'll get back
If you're
to
a
this.
light person, why would you have an earth orb in your mana pool?
It's the shared mana pool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of like how the trap tokens go to everybody.
Make a versus challenge test against the target versus focus DS, ignoring LOS on success because we're blind. Like we're blinding them, right? It's gonna deal 4 mine and each. I don't want to phrase this. And so I want to give everybody else cover. Characters. We'll deal 4 mines. Now, if this character, the target, makes a versus challenge test before your next turn order, their target has partial cover if they did not already have cover. So it's blinding.
And so
What do we think?
it is pretty
powerful.
powerful. I have a question.
Yeah.
If you can convert an earth orb on the battlefield into a crystal orb, and I know that the earth wall is an earth orb that can use crystal.
Yep.
Does the earth wall become stronger if you crystallize it?
Not stronger. Like the body is the same, the evasion is the same, but it does let you do your light beam through it.
What about prismatic dazzle?
Prismatic dazzle, razzle dazzle. We can call the archetype the dazzler.
Prismatic flare?
Flares.
Ooh, flare's
We are
good.
blinding them.
We are blinding them.
Solar flare.
Anything but light. It's too generic.
Too generic. Prismatic flare.
Light flare.
What about crystalline flare?
Ooh, yeah.
That feels like a mouthful.
Because that speaks a little bit more to the crystal or crystallizing flare.
What if we reverse it and we go with flaring?
All right, so I move 3 squares over and I cast crystalline flare. Or I move up to the top of the hill on this and I cast crystallizing flare.
Crystallizing flare.
Yeah, it's got more. Okay, so when you're picturing yourself on that battlefield, like roll 20, and you're trying to tell the DM what you're doing, it feels more. What's that word? Like, it feels more powerful.
Engaging.
Yeah,
Powerful.
to say crystallizing versus crystallized or crystalline. Yeah, crystallizing. It definitely has more of a zing to it.
Zing. Flame speaker. I'm kind of jumping for a second.
That's right. I got
give them a high minds,
I got taught a
high
button
focus,
to track.
low evade. You got what to track me? Oh yeah. We'll give them min soul. We'll go mid soul and minimum belief. Coming back. Flame speaker. So I want to make them the glass cannon. Naturally, they have a stat line now.
So
Tier 2, tier 3. How did you end up with? Oh, that at minimum. Like, how'd you end up with body? I didn't want him to have body.
Yeah, you don't get any body.
You get no body. All right, we're back in business. Tier 5, tier 4, tier 3, tier 2,
Yeah.
tier 1. We need some more things for our light person to do. Besides that, crystalline flare.
Laser beam.
Laser beam.
Or
That would
solar.
be cool.
So I'm sorry. Solar beam. My bad.
Solar, like a Pokemon. Let's take it sunlight. Take it sunlight.
yeah, that requires
So
an earth orb and 2 light orbs.
I'm thinking, so yes, possibly, but what if it requires a fire orb and a light orb?
Yes. I feel like you probably need 3. I'd give it 3 orbs. Just
Have
shooting
it
a ray.
say something.
If your laser beam hits a metal orb, then the whole thing explodes in a fiery plasma.
Let's see. Let me
You can sunburn people. I know lasers can sunburn people. I've been sunburned by lasers.
let me get flame wall going. Oh, I need formatting. Copy pasting. Yeah, we can do something like that. Are we gonna give the light mage the ability to do body? That's
No.
kind of the default damage type.
No.
No, we're not.
No.
Soul. I feel like if you get hit with a laser, it's gonna affect your soul.
You're burning my soul. There
Yeah.
is a good reason for that, actually, right? Because it's radiance
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
with the luminous. All right, let me add my flame wall.
Okay.
You gain the following action. Action, singular. Flame wall. Action. Place a generate or place, actually, because you can only generate one. But let's say you firebolted somebody and like they're about to die or something, or you need that fire, but you've already generated another orb already this turn, and you're like, oh, I really need this flame wall. So generate or place a fire orb in a space on the battlefield within 5 spaces.
Yes.
Spaces with fire orb and those adjacent are treated as hazardous terrain with a hazard rating of 1, which you guys might remember. That means if you start your turn, you take a body. If you move a space, you take a body.
All
For
right.
each space you move, it's 1 body.
This might be a stretch, but this might actually work. What if the light orbs could be used as clones?
Clones? I was thinking our arcane caster would be able to do cloning.
Okay.
Like illusions?
Yeah. Changing vision, changing sight.
Well, if you're gonna do that, then you would need an object, not an object. You would need something to project it onto.
The orb itself.
I get what you're saying now. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because you can place the light orb on the battlefield, and then enemies are taunted. Basically, is the concept.
Not taunted per se, but to give off the illusion that they see something, I mean, maybe they see like another one of their own or one of us. Something that
What's the game effect though?
the taunt would be the initial effect, realistically. But what it would do is basically it would take away their action because they attack it, and obviously it would probably sacrifice the orb doing that. But it gives a decoy.
I understand, but I don't know if a light orb on its own could do that or should do that. I'm not sure how powerful setting up a decoy would be. Because on the one hand, you can check on things, illusions, by if something hits it, it might take one attack from it before they realize it's not real.
Yeah, essentially.
Or if it's showing one of their own, they're not going to attack it at all. And then what difference does it make?
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. Is like what is going to make them attack it? Like rules wise, I don't mean like in universe.
I feel like there would need to be a smoke or steam or fog in the area.
Well, if we're being real about it, it would be light, earth, and fire. That essentially makes a mirror.
Oh,
But then it would have to be
mirror?
Yeah, but then it would have to be able to do stuff because that's a lot of magic
if you're
to
making
combine.
if you're making a mirror, then any effect that wasn't purely physical could be reflected.
Yeah, I'm still on like what is the game effect?
I don't know. We've
like,
moved on like twice. I'm not.
Okay, so
So like we create the light, we put the light orb on the battlefield.
Mhm.
Then what? What happens?
Like staring at the sun.
Oh, yes, that's ingenious, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, so it creates a clone of a mage, right? The one who casts it out, and when it's attacked, it blinds everything in 2 spaces.
1, why would it be attacked? 2, how are we tracking? That's a lot of people to track blindness for.
1,
Like let's say we got a horde of animals.
okay, so it only blinds the one that hits it, and it shouldn't be too hard to track because it's 1 orb per turn. And ideally, you don't necessarily want to lose the orb. It's just an effect it could have.
Almost. It feels like a lot for a single.
He's only gone through the first 17 scenarios.
Yeah.
Maybe, what if that's a combination of 2 light orbs?
Ultra light.
Well, yeah, because you need light, and then I think we've gone over this particular thing before. Light and light makes hard light. We've had this argument.
It's funny you bring up hard light because I was when we were talking about this before, I was kind of thinking like, well, what if our light guy has like a light sword? How sweet would that be? A sword made out of light. But they're not. If we aren't having them be a physical brawler, maybe that'll be our Umbra Knights character. Maybe they have a sword made out of darkness. They're going to attack with the darkness instead of attacking the
Why do you
darkness.
keep trying to make objects out of intangible things?
Because that's how you
'Cause
attack
it's
the
sweet.
soul and the mind.
Ah!
All right.
It's,
So I've got
it's
the
an idea
flame
we can
wall.
just put a pin on.
You keep trying to create
Yeah.
Green Lanterns.
Green Lantern's freaking sweet, man.
Yes,
Um,
but if he actually had his powers, he would be entirely overpowered in any scenario.
Yeah, but if you could only put in
hey,
one,
we got
if you could only put in
got
one
Will as a
mana
stat.
per ring, I mean, all of a sudden it's much less overpowered.
we do need a way to generate light as of yet. We don't have it. We were talking about it, putting it on the battlefield.
What? Question. Why do they need to generate light?
A basic,
can
basic
affect
magic
it.
to create advanced magic.
Are we fighting in the daytime?
You generate light orbs.
Yeah.
Light mana.
Okay. Are there crystals on the battlefield?
No, not until you make them.
Why not?
Okay, so I know this is going to cause another tangent. I do have an instance where there is going to be crystals on the battlefield. So remember how we were having this conversation earlier about objectives? Like there's 14 objectives in the base game already written. I'm going to have like 30 of them in just the base. These are always the objectives. But every faction has their own list of objectives to draw from, which also gets shuffled into that randomization if you choose to randomize it. In this
That makes
case, and I have it written, and if I have it written in my notebook here, let me pull it up. So we've got siphon mana. In this case, there would be crystals on the battlefield that your mages have to approach, and then use their magic to siphon mana out of it, or there are artifacts that they need to power with their mana. And then the third objective here I have is ritual circles.
Maybe we don't have to overcomplicate it. Maybe they're not on the ground at all. Maybe light particles float through the air.
You're
above us.
missing the gameplay here.
Clearly.
The Luminists, they place their light orb. They generate it. They use some effect. They use their action. They generate one light orb. They either put it in the mana pool, they put it on the battlefield, or they put it on a character sheet.
Yes.
Several rounds of this later, now they have 3 light orbs, we'll say, just for example. They spend those 3 light orbs. They use their solar beam.
Sure.
Yeah. We need a way to generate those light orbs. We need an action that they can take that says place light orb in XYZ location.
Oh, an action for them to take.
Yes.
That's different. That's much different.
Much different. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for right now.
What if light was also I don't know a good word to put these together, but spirit. So the light orbs could generate, spirits that could do like little basic attacks that affect soul.
So you put the light orb on the battlefield,
Mhm.
and then it deals soul.
That's how
When does it deal soul?
that's what I would picture. So the attack would be to create a light. We'll say my first action will be to create a light spirit, and give them. We'll say the feature is specifically what's that evil bird? We'll say it's a crow, right? And the crow can fly into something or someone up to 3 spaces from where the orb was put, and we'll say the orb can go within 2 spaces, and then the spirit flies into them, deals 2 soul, and now the orb stays. So instead of just light in itself, it's more of your druid like.
Why wouldn't we just say spirit attack or whatever, right? We have the light, the luminous cast spirit, deals soul, put light orb into mana pool
Or battlefield.
instead of putting it on the battlefield.
Oh.
Instead of the battlefield. What does it do on the battlefield besides limit your range?
The orb itself
Yeah.
increases evasion, generates amplified light, so it makes it harder for someone to hit.
Yeah, but so you're putting it on the battlefield. It's some space. The enemy approaches you, not the orb.
So
Right? So they're approaching you to challenge test.
So again, this is magic. So only those viewed as the enemy see something brighter than what non-enemies see.
The light orb adds to evasion.
Yeah, but only
Maybe
those within the area.
like or in a line, right? Because anything on the other side of the light orb directly wouldn't be able to see past it. But things on either side, it wouldn't really affect so much unless you're staring at it.
So it blocks line of sight.
Yeah,
hinders line of
it's
sight.
light. You ever stare at a bright lamp with someone behind it? You
I,
can't see them.
let me ask you this: are you okay with adding a negative to a roll?
I generally try not to modify the rolls that much.
Okay, then yeah, it would add
Like
to it'd be like +1 to DS.
that see that's the same thing though, right? Like what we're avoiding is those increments that we see in like Pathfinder and D where it's like +1, +1, +1, +1. That +1 isn't gonna do all of that much. However, there is one way that I have been doing modifying evasion, and this is about the only way. And that is cover.
Creates cover.
So if you say, yeah, like that is a thing we can do. If I may, what if instead of putting it on the battlefield, we put it on a character sheet?
That's doable.
Like if yeah, the light mage, the white mage, they put the light orb on their buddy's character sheet. Now that guy has cover, partial cover from everybody.
Ooh, unless it's dark out.
Now,
In which
here's
case, he's more easily targeted.
the issue. Now would be that would make it really hard to mix. That's where range would be an issue to mix it with something else.
What do you mean?
Like I'm picturing light and dark making arcane.
Okay.
We already have arcane though. Arcane's separate.
Is it like how do you get to arcane?
As of right now, one of two things: either it is one of the base elements, or it's not any of the above. Arcane is kind of like the arcane guy can probably use any of the other mana orbs. So he's either distilling the magic down to arcane, or it is an element in and of itself.
So then, what's your plan for mixing light and dark?
So I mean, we don't have to be able to mix light and dark, but we can.
How do we move? So using a light orb as an ingredient for another spell, like just something that requires 3 orbs and only 2 of them are required. So that third one could be the light orb. How do we get that light orb from the character to the other character if they're, let's say, 16 squares away from each other? Is it
Yeah, that's fine. They can do it.
so the light
And-
specialty will be able to transfer at the speed of light?
At the speed of light. Yeah, like that's the case for all of them, right? If you as the earth shaper, you accidentally set up your earth wall early game, the first couple rounds, and your whole crew has moved on, you're at like the top of the map and all your earth orbs are down there, you can spend those earth orbs to do whatever. Otherwise, there's a pitfall if we don't do it this way. And that is, well, I accidentally left my fire orbs, my earth orbs, my everything down south. Early game, we were fighting, and now we're like 6 orbs of our 10 down because we're so far away. That's why I'm kind of saying it's global reach.
Okay.
The entire map, you have access to all of the orbs everywhere on the map.
See, so what you're saying is we need to surround one person in Earth Wall so that they can constantly
Yes.
generate orbs, and the rest of us take
Just keep
fire to
generating.
the other side of the map and start pulling.
Yeah, but so the
There you
other orbs have the advantage of being able to put them on the field. Light doesn't.
No,
So-
light gets eaten by the
It's
soul.
not.
So how do we
It's
compensate
not
that?
it's not so it's not an advantage to put it on the battlefield by itself.
No.
Because
But-
one, it's symmetrical, which means if it's on the battlefield, it hurts you as much as it helps you because you still have to walk through that hazardous terrain. You still have to climb over that wall to get to the other side.
Yes, that's why this would be a difficulty level. Can't use it against you.
Now, if anything, the light ability, putting it on the character sheet and giving them partial cover, that's the strongest effect we have by far because it only affects the enemies.
Yeah.
That could work.
Alternatively, having it on the battlefield, and not being able to do anything with it, could make it to where if you have multiple light orbs together, it increases the damage output.
Increases the damage output of what?
So how my example before, we have the crow that kind of blasts through their soul. On the next turn, it would do, we'll say, 3 damage because you get an extra +1 for having the light orb already there. Basically, it could just be an amplifier for having it out on the field. and then has no effect outside of that. I mean, it's still an effect, so it still has a reason to be on the field. But obviously, it's much better to have it on your character versus the field. However, if you're the last bastion of hope and you're the light mage, you can continually amplify the light and increase your power output.
Why do you want it to be on the battlefield specifically?
I don't want basically a balance. I don't want the fire, water, earth, darkness all have that ability and light not. It makes it to where someone's looking down the character sheet and they're like, oh, but they can't do this, so I'm not going to pick them. It's so that specifically you have that balance.
We don't want balance.
No, we don't. We want
Yeah,
people to have
balance is
uniqueness
not the goal. Yeah, we want uniqueness.
so that people don't end up all picking the same person who is clearly the best one.
Like as of right now, like the strongest effect is one that you put on a character sheet rather than the one you put on the battlefield.
But is light going to be the only one that does that?
No, I mean fire already does that too,
So
and it's going to be effect by effect.
then
Fire puts it on the enemy, light puts it on an ally.
Yeah.
why would I ever go light then if fire can already do it too?
No. Fire puts it on an enemy. Light puts it on an ally. You have fire that can continuously deal damage. You have light that helps protect you.
Yeah, it's not. You're looking at this like all these characters are doing the same thing. It's not doing the same thing. Lights, given that +6, it's a +6. I'm pretty sure to evasion. That's massive
Oh,
because that's what partial cover is.
okay.
I think it's +6. I could have changed that. Right. Whoever you're putting that light orb on has big evasion boost. Actually, it's not even just evasion. It's all of them.
It would be all defense statistics. All right, I still
Let me
feel like
find
light
real
needs
quick.
something more to put it on par, like to be something you would pick over the others.
To be something you would pick, right? Like, keep in mind, you
get to shoot
wouldn't
a
pick.
laser.
Yeah, you get to shoot a laser. You personally would probably not pick Commander. You personally probably would not Mortuary Stitchmaster, right? Those are the support figures.
But I would pick medic.
Like, this character, so far, with the few things that we've done, one, they deal mind, which is good against some enemies. And the other thing that they do is they are adding DSs, which is very rare, very difficult to do. It's +4 to all DSs.
Now, would the light mage be able to apply the same thing to another character sheet?
Yeah, that would be the idea.
Okay,
Is that you could have like the light armor on each character that you do this with.
that would give it a see in my head that would give it a balance. But if he can only do it to himself and he can't use the light outside of that, or he just shoves it in the pool and it just becomes fodder for another spell, it seems too low end.
The fodder for the other spells is what he does in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I do fire bolts, yeah, that does something else. You're still gonna do something else when you're generating the orb. You're always gonna do something else, except if unless that orb itself does something. Right. So if we're calling this, are we calling it hard light armor?
Yes.
Fred?
I'm not responding to clearly attack on my individual.
No, I like it.
You.
Light armor. I do personally. I know Fred is not a fan because we had this whole conversation about whether or not hard light can exist in. I'm for it. Well, I'm neutral on it but like there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. Like a rainbow bridge is technically hard light. If you're a leprechaun climbing a rainbow out of gold, that's hard light.
Mario using a go-kart going across the Rainbow Road there.
Yeah, Rainbow Road, hard light. Hard light
doesn't
armor.
exist. There are no video games.
Bastards. Hard light armor. Place a light orb on a character, an ally's character.
So you're telling me that there's something in Mutts that's not in Regate?
There's a lot of things in Mutts that aren't in Regate.
Now I just want to
Choose a
call it hard light
friendly or
armor
neutral
even
character.
more.
Choose a friendly or neutral character within, what do we want to say, 4 spaces? 5 spaces? To give them hard light armor, place a light orb on their character sheet.
That's where it becomes an issue. Because now is there range or is there not range?
Like to place it in this case, yes, right? There is no limit on spending it, right?
Okay.
You can spend the orbs from anywhere. But to target your friends with the ability, he's got to be within 5 spaces.
5 spaces.
Correct.
I feel like 5 spaces. 5 is like the hard. It's the hard spot for the mage range.
I gave the fireball a pretty good range because it's so devastating. 8 spaces for the fireball.
Yeah, but that's what tier.
Firebolt is 6 spaces. It's tier 1.
Right. Okay. And this. I mean, it is the fire one, so I wouldn't expect Earth to be as far off as fire.
Yeah, me neither.
So you're getting fire too much credit because you're biased.
I actually don't play fire mages.
Yeah, but what are you in your soul? What's your sign,
soul.
bastard?
Force.
Your elemental one. Like I am an earth soul.
I rotate. I can't pick between ice and lightning.
That's not how astrology works.
I'm not.
I'm a fire sign, Sagittarius.
I'm a mutts engineer, not an astrologist.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of this is the idea that I had. You get the following action. So this is Windwalker. Tailwinds. Generate tailwinds.
He can run
Create
fast.
he can let everybody fly. Action. This character and each other ally, each other friendly or neutral character within 4 spaces have gain flights until your next turn order generate an air orb. Are we saying wind or are we saying air? I think air makes more sense for calling the orbs.
Yeah, I think it does too.
Generate an air orb in your mana pool because it's not a permanent effect. The tailwinds just last until your turn order, but it gives your whole squad flight if you're clustered together.
Oh,
It's like there's one that isn't placing it on the battlefield or on a character sheet, and it's still a pretty strong effect because you get flights. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, but he will have an effect if you put one on the field.
which is
I wasn't planning on it. I wasn't planning on having wind put on the field. I was planning on having lightning put on the field because this would be really fun. You place lightning, right? And then lightning strike as an action. You spend that lightning orb that's on the battlefield to do a lightning strike. And it does like some pretty big damage in a small AoE.
See, I could picture something like that with an air orb. Someone steps on it, it works similar to the trap, but it only moves them 2 spaces, which could be used
I can see that being
beneficially.
a thing.
Yeah, so you can use it for a teammate to get them 2 extra spaces on their movement, or an enemy to push them, off the cliff. Should they be so smart to
How do
walk
we
into
do
it?
Ban. Sorry, there was a thing in our stream. Somebody needed to be banned.
yeah, they did.
What happened?
Okay, what were you saying? There was a bot in our stream.
Oh,
I just had to take care of it real quick. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
so the air orb could be used to, if one of our characters walk into it, that's 2 spaces in the direction that whatever it is. Or if an enemy um walks into it, then it works similar to the trap token to spring them in a direction. Again, 2 spaces, so it's nothing major, but it's enough to, let's say some zombie walks up the cliff and we got an orb right there on the cliff, back down they go. With it being 2 spaces, that's
We don't want
not overkill.
the more orbs we put on the battlefield, the more effects we have to list, the more cluttered our battlefield is. Like the point of the pool is so that we don't have to put them all on the battlefield. Not saying we can't. Like it's a decent enough idea, but I don't want to get carried away and have every single orb have an effect on the battlefield. Only some are actually going to be placed.
A light breeze hardly affects anybody, except for when you jump, then it makes you fly.
Yeah. And like that's not a bad idea. Having the wind orb function kind of like a trap token and like launch them. One of the things we need to do with like earth and wind and really water is to be able to push people around. And I think we would get it better to keep that as an active ability rather than a passive for this team in particular.
What if it's not a passive, but it is an active? Like you choose whether or not anything happens while it's down. Like, what if let's say an enemy walks on it and they choose not to do anything with the orb? And that way they just continue to walk on through it. So making it optional. Because inevitably there's going to be some clutter with this, no matter how you look at it, whether it's the pool, the field, the characters. I mean, if you've got 6 different elements sitting on one character sheet, that's some clutter right there.
The pool is going to be the biggest amount, right? It's like most of them should end up in the pool. We have you have all these orbs over here, and then we also have a light orb on this character sheet. We've got an earth orb maybe on this character sheet, and then a fire orb over there.
With a max of 10,
The pool is.
I don't think you're going to have the clutter you think you're going to have.
If all 10 of them are on the battlefield,
then someone's dying because we're not casting enough spells. Everybody's going to cast at every opportunity they get.
Not even just, which is a good thing. We'd want that. But one, if it's on the battlefield, it's serving a purpose. So you might be putting a whole bunch of different things, but it's not just spatial clutter. It's also rules clutter because it's like, oh, well, we have to consider this orb has this effect, and this orb has this effect, and this orb has this effect. And you have to check all these different things to make sure that this orb is doing the thing we think it's doing as you are passing by several different orbs.
See, I feel like that could be a small section in the skirmer's book. Orbs on the field. This orb, this effect. This orb, this effect. And we're
It could
talking
be.
like 6
We
effects.
I mean, it depends on how many orbs we make. If all of them are on the battlefield, then we have this is the steam effect, this is the smoke effect, this is the light effect, this is the arcane effect, this is the earth, wind, water, electricity, fire, lava, granite, steel, obsidian.
Well, let's say there's 15 different orbs, right? So that's 15 different potential effects. You're still not keeping track of all of that because you're still maxed out at only 10 orbs total, which means effects that are going into play, even our compound effects, that takes 2 effects off the table to put 1 on. And again, if they're not using those and consuming them to cast, they've got a huge problem.
It's still a whole other sheet you've got to keep track of. You've got to have in front of you that lists out all of the different effects. Whereas with every other faction, and like I'm not saying this is a hard law. I'm not saying this is the only way it can be, because we're definitely going to have factions that go beyond this. But for traps, missing gadgeteers, right? This is the trap you have. These are the effects of that trap. That's kind of what we do when we say, well, here's what the fire orb does when it's on the battlefield, because you put it there with your flame wall ability.
No matter how you look at this,
Right.
this is going to be the most complicated faction of all because it's created for sequencing.
No, it won't be as complicated as you're making it. You're making it complicated because you're saying, I need all of the effects for all of these situations. I need every single element to have an effect on a character sheet. I need every single element.
No,
I have to have some input, some output lists.
no, nothing like that. But so we'll take just the 6 elements that we have, right? We'll say that
Right.
they can compound to each other. We'll say what it can happen just one time, right? We have to have an effect for each of those. That's already a separate list than the character's list itself.
No. One, that is 30, like 6 times 5, right? So that's 30 different combinations. If we were to list all those out, we don't have to do that. It's just I have the rain feature. The rain feature tells me to convert fire into smoke. That's all it says. In Flame Wall, it says this is what happens when you put a fire on the battlefield. This is what happens when a smoke's on the battlefield. And that's it. That's all we need for those 2 things. We have input, we have output. We also have fireball, which has consumption, which is it's one of the 3 types I have listed. So we have the full gameplay loop there.
So you're looking to make multiple elements go into the same features.
Possibly.
So you're not looking to make
some of them, yeah.
Okay, so you're not looking to make a result for fire, earth, fire, water, fire, air, fire, light, fire, dark. You don't need like fire and dark and fire and earth can make smoke. Is that the kind of what you're trying to do?
It could be. It could be. Yeah. Not that exactly, but yeah, that could be the case where it's like in this situation, your feature says use this feature, a fire on the battlefield becomes smoke. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm
So we can have multiple ways, multiple.
I think I'm pushing too much for the exacts.
You're going for like the full list of every possible combination.
Yeah.
You're trying to have each character be able to convert X number of different things to do X number of different effects. I I think the right answer is to have this is the thing I can do. Here's how we have some interactions.
This is gonna be
I
hard.
this orb.
I gotta break that head trash. This is gonna be hard. So
Yeah,
we have
you're
to.
stuck. You're stuck.
Well, so in my
I'm
head,
constantly
it's
fighting against.
spider webs, and we're in the middle, and I can see the expansions of every side, and we're not trying
Oh,
to.
well, see, there's your problem.
Yeah, we're not trying to make the spider web. We're trying to be the spider.
I don't want to be a bug.
Exactly. I told Brett this the other day. I'm like, I have to kind of break these sort of expectations, these things that have been kind of ground into people's brains about this is the way video games are made. This is the way these elements work together. This is all of the ways that all of the games have been done previously. And I'm trying to break away from that. I'm trying to help make this into something that's much more organic, much more streamlined, and also much more evocative. I wish I could tell you, trust me, but like I promise you the vision is there. I think you're going to be satisfied when it's done.
Now that I see the path you're trying to take, my way would be infinitely more complicated. So
Yes.
we need to come up with we have to be able to come up and visualize the concepts that we're looking at, and then we just plug in what it takes to do it.
Yes.
So then we're not
Exactly.
looking at 30, 60, 90, 120 different things we got to combine. We're looking at 15 different abilities, and here's how you can get there.
Bingo.
Yeah, I get it now, but oh, my head.
It's easier, right? Right? Like
Yeah.
this makes more sense on the battlefield. These characters working together to accomplish X, Y, Z.
hmm
If you do it in this sequence, you combine these to get these orbs, you combine these to get these orbs, now you combine it all together. Maybe you make a portal. Like we do the science. We as game designers, we do the science. Players don't.
So the reality is, but yeah, then a lot of the stuff wouldn't have to be on the field. It would literally just be, well, it would be whatever we choose it to be. But looking at the elements here, earth would make the wall, fire make burn, lightning would be fun, but lightning has to be a combination. Light and dark.
Do you want light?
Light
Sorry.
and dark wouldn't have an effect that'd be able to go in. Neither would air because air is everywhere.
What about water though? What's water doing?
By itself,
Water is going to be a healer. We know water can heal.
yeah. So by itself,
We're
probably
also
nothing on the
thinking
field.
Whip was one of the ones that we threw out there where they're like maneuvering people. That was an option. Blessed Rain. So this is a combination of light and water that I think would be really cool. If we do Blessed Rains, you're dealing hearts in an area. So as the blessing falls over them, they no longer have the will to fight against you and they leave the battlefield. And that's just going to be one. It's not necessarily going to be put the Blessed Rains or on the battlefield or anything like that. By the way, this is a direction we can take if you're interested in this. Put lightning under the purview of light. If we want to go that direction, I know you're aiming more for spiritual, which is not going to fit well with lightning.
Not at all.
But just an option.
That would honestly make it easier to make light more have some offensive.
Yeah, I mean, right now they've got dealing mind. That's their offensive. Just fucking knocking people out.
I mean, getting
with
tased.
that flare. You get that crystallizing flare, you like blast people in the face, and then they fall over. Because you can KO people with this.
Yeah.
What was the original for lightning? It was fire and air.
Fire and air, yeah. But like it can also be like it can be fire and air, or it can be wind and lights, or fire and light. Like some combination of kind of those three will end up creating lightning.
We don't necessarily need to say just one of them does it either.
Yeah, exactly.
So fire and air can do it. Light and fire can do it.
Yeah, I think you're coming around to what I said earlier, where
Well,
it's
now
because
I
we don't have
understand
this
it.
finite. Yeah, now if we do not have a definite list, if we do not have this definite finite collection, we can have multiple ins, get multiple outs. We can have the same. We can have fire and air going in and make lightning, but we can also have fire and air go in and make tornado, and then we look at lightning, and that can be produced by lights and fire if we wanted to, right? Because we don't have this definite list, because we don't have this finite list, we can do a lot of different things in a lot of different sequences.
Whatever you can convince your DM of.
Not exactly. I mean, we as game designers are going to have input, outputs. It's like Satisfactory. I don't know if you guys play Satisfactory.
I don't. It's not satisfying to me.
I love Satisfactory. It's that engineer itch in my brain. But what you have is like, well, this thing goes in, we get an output. Now you use that output plus another output of another combination, and you create a third output or a fourth output, third output, right? And then maybe that output is our portal magic, where we can literally step into the portal, come out another portal, because we've done this sweet combination of different things.
With that being the case, I would say lightning could be mixed by using light, but I don't think light should be part of lightning. Because if you make light part of lightning or lightning part of light, then mixing the other ones wouldn't make sense. So if we keep it separate,
You wanted solar beam, which deals soul.
Yeah. Instead of solar, SOLAR, SOULER, solar beam.
I'm gonna copy just the wording from Fireball, which I'm gonna take lightning at. Well, I'll leave that there. And we've got solar beam. So are you feel pretty good about this concept though?
Yeah.
Now that we're on the same page.
Oh, I've always been on the same page, just coming from the other direction.
I need a pen.
Choose. I want to do this where it's like choose 4 spaces in a straight line directly away from the character. Make a range versus not ranged. Make a versus challenge test versus Belief DS against each character in those spaces and adjacent spaces. It's a lot of area. Say each other character, so you don't hit yourself. You are in an adjacent space. For each success, on success deal, I'm gonna say let's do 9 soul to each target. 2 effective targets, so it's pretty strong. I just don't know what the combination is going to be yet.
Solar?
Yeah. Oh, we could do crystal. We could definitely do.
Yep. You definitely need a crystal because you need a focusing lens that makes it feel like focusing.
Yeah.
You'll need a crystal. You'll need probably air. Probably air and fire. Crystal, air, and fire makes solar beam.
It's not and it's or.
Crystal, air, or fire makes solar beam.
Yeah. Light, air, fire, or crystal.
Because if you put enough fire behind a crystal, you have the light you need to focus.
And we can modify these combinations later as we evolve more elements.
Nice.
And this will be phosphoromancy. Yeah. What skill or what stat Oromancy do? What would he use? What did you have before? I know we have to change it. We have to change the overall. Oh, phone's dead.
Me?
Yeah.
For which one?
Light magic.
I had light under patience.
Does that work? I think it does. I think I gave it something. I'll have to find it.
Okay,
But
so
for
of
now, it'll be patient.
the basic 4 that you have was based off of the
Uh-huh.
I don't know where my mouse is. All right, so we have body, mind. I'm drawing a blank. Is heart on top or bottom?
Bottom left.
Bottom and soul. All right, so light, soul, yeah. Fire was for me. I had it set for mind. For you, you had it set for heart, right?
Courage. Fire is courage.
Courage, which is also soul. Okay, so fire. Now there's going to be some crossover because we have more than 4, so that's okay. Earth was body. Water was. So I had it set to the stat. Yeah, I had it set to vitality, but it would have to be moved over to heart. So empathy,
For the luminous or for hydromancy?
hydromancy,
Yeah, empathy. Empathy's good for that.
and then for
Empathy.
courage for fire. Then
Right. And then radiance. Darkness definitely has to be subtlety. What do you have for light?
light originally was patience, which is soul. But if subtlety is dark, then we could use logic, acuity, or will for light.
Acuity would be good. I think that could really work. Like their perceptiveness to aim the right lights in the right directions. Their perception of the world around them. What do we think? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm good with that. Between the 3, that would be the one I would pick. And Earth was strength, because big stone make strong man.
I've got it as vitality, but like I also think strength should play into it. Like it's a combination of strength and vitality for Earth. You got to be tough. There are tank. If we have a tank in this crew, it's going to be the Earth Shaper.
Yeah,
If we have a healer, it's going to be the Hydromancer.
which leaves. So there's not a lot working with mind.
You know,
Would you be cool if we put arcane under will or logic?
absolutely. Those are the 2 I would pick.
I'm
Let's
leaning more
do
towards
logic.
yeah. Actually, we use logic for a lot.
We do. Will.
Yeah, let's do will. Give it some time in the light.
What do I have humility here for? Oh, the Windwalker. Yeah. Avatar style humility is what I have wind air as. Humility. Yeah. Although I could see if we want to go this direction instead, humility for the luminous and then deafness for the Windwalker.
What about courage?
Courage is fire. Yeah.
I must
You gotta be brave. Play with fire.
or stupid.
He's dying. Somebody help Brett.
I don't know. I think I like having more pushing towards the soul and heart, because those are stats that are typically ignored when it comes to everything else. So pushing this
What's really
class
funny?
towards that works.
You know what's kind of funny is like outside of skirmish, strength and vitality are like not used at all.
Yeah,
They're
you don't need
lower
it if you're not
lower on the
fighting.
use case. Yeah, if you're not fighting, what do you got to be tough for?
Well, I mean, when you
Go
gotta
to the homie.
break out of a home that tried to kill you, to be able to reach that.
What?
Yeah,
It's called the master key. Okay.
all the best. Yeah, screw this up twice.
Ah.
All right. So what do we? Any last thoughts? Because I think we're nearing 2 hours now. Anything you
we're
want to work
past.
on real quick, or any last thoughts?
Yes, I would like to design a whole new faction in the next 30 seconds.
Masters of the
Okay.
Elements.
What is it?
No, I wouldn't do that. Yes.
Yes, there will be a time.
But as of right now, I think we did pretty good. We got what 3, 4 continuous things on the docket. That's good. Pretty good run for a couple hours.
Hey, we
Yeah.
managed to get my brain to work right.
Well, I mean,
Like,
Yeah.
it was hard to communicate exactly what the vision was. Like I know where you're coming from. I know what you're kind of expecting, and I think this is the better direction to take. That's going to feel more like Masters of the Elements. It's going to feel a lot more like casting big spells over and over again. Doing cool shit.
Yeah, I wasn't
I think this is a
thinking
good
in
direction.
loop at all. Like your way would be the way to go. That makes it easier to get to the more advanced stuff without having to create, X and Y equals Z. I was so focused on Z, 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 Z that I didn't think about the loop back on that.
yes,
I don't even know how I would explain that to myself.
you can't. That's why you're confused.
I've got it now, but
All right.
it did take a couple hours.
We're all on the same page now. That's what's important.
There's a reason. Okay, so there's a reason I did not want to explain this to you in text.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
get it.
imagine how hard this conversation would have been through text. There's a reason why I wanted to get you in a voice chat talking about it.
Listen, you dumb motherfucker. Yeah.
All right. So if we got nothing else, thanks guys for helping me design this. My two best real time designers by far.
Woohoo!
The other two designers, they're more of like, let me do one it. Let me take my time with it. You guys are really responsive, which helps me for a live stream. I would say.
I would say if we're trying to make this as
And
simple as
thanks
possible,
for everybody that's watching.
glad I could help.
Yeah, it's gotta make sense to the lowest common denominator. It really does, and it will in the book. It will not as I'm explaining the behind it. But yeah, thanks. I don't know why you define me. I'm usually pretty good about these things.
It's not
To make sure I
intentional.
understand it.
Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for partaking in the stream. Once we get this on YouTube, thanks for watching it on YouTube. And with that, we say